what we're going to do is have a quick tour of the library module. Now there's certain parts of the module which we'll talk about in more detail later, but what you need to be aware of that the library module is a very powerful tool within Lightroom. It's really your database of images. This is where you're going to add things like keywords, metadata. You're going to create yourself collections. It gives you the opportunity to view certain images instead of having to view the masses of images all at once. So understanding how it works is very, very important. Now if we go to the top and start, basically we look at the nameplate, and as you can remember, we can go in and edit the nameplate and customize it by simply going into the edit nameplate module and changing that. And also moving across, right clicking, we can control what modules we actually see. And we can tell we're in the module unit because library is the one that's highlighted while the others are grayed out. So we're in the library module and it's very, very simple and easy to understand. On the main interface here is where you are going to see all your images. Now what you see up here is controlled by the film strip down the bottom that you run through. So whatever's highlighted down the bottom, when you change your mode from grid or loop, rightio, to just a single image, rightio, that's what you're going to see in the main interface. And as we click through, you can change that image in what you see. So this is controlled, so you can see the image quite large and get a good understanding of whether it's a good, bad, whatever image, because that way you can come through and apply a star rating down here. 1, 2, 3, you choose what you want. That's a 4, I reckon that's a great image. So we can do that, we can apply that in this module. So that's one of the bonuses you have of being able to see them as grids and go through and group images. For example, if we want to choose all these waterfall images, it's just a matter of holding the shift key down and highlighting all those images, and we can actually create a group using them. And that's what you would use the grid mode for. Otherwise, we'd simply just come to the individual mode where we can have a look at images individually. The other bonus of working in this mode is, say I've got some images that are side on, I can also come through and hit the little flip buttons and flip them all around so that we're seeing them the way we should see them. So that's one of the things you need to be aware of. The main interface here is controlled by the film strip, and basically you can change the view that you want to see things. The other great thing here is, especially if you are comparing photographs, you can choose 2 of them and come across here, and down the bottom you'll have these 4 little square icons, and that's how you view the images with these bottom 4 right here. And what you'll find is if you choose the one there with the 3 little squares, when you bring them up, that's going to let you be able to do comparisons of images. We also have an option here where you can see how you want to view them as well. So it gives you a couple of options, before and after, and basically whether we've changed images. It's going to let you see, especially if you have done a lot of changes, you're going to be able to see the comparisons down through there. How we see these images, especially when we have them in grid mode, is you can control the size of this thumbnail through here. And you can have the images as big as you like or as small as you like. It is up to you. So it's your choice. Once again, you can modify what you see. I'll talk more about this line and all these different options we have where we can sort them out by the time they're captured, star ratings, and they're all controlled over here where we can choose what we want to see by simply selecting and turning them on and off. But I'll talk about this in another video about how we'd apply all these and things that we can be aware of. So be aware, the main interface is controlled mainly here from the film strip and choosing images within there, especially if you want to see them in a single mode. If we come to the left panel, this is a very important side, because what this does is across the top here we have an opportunity to see how big we want that image. So if we click the fit module, right, it'll basically bring back the image to fit in the screen nicely. We click fill, it fills the whole screen, so we no longer have just that little grey area around it. 1:1 is actually the true size of the image. 100% we are seeing it. And then we have an option over the side here to change it to different variant sizes or different scales. There's 1 to 8, 1 to 4, and we can see it at different sizes. So we can choose the size that we see those images on the interface up the top here. Also what we have is our navigator. So if we go 1 to 1, for example, on the navigator I can move this around and see certain parts in the image. And that's great because it's going to give me more control, but also it gives me the preview of what I'm seeing in the shot. So basically when I've got fill, I'm actually looking at a preview of what's selected. Especially if I'm using grid mode and I'm not quite sure what I'm using here, I'm just seeing a little bit bigger picture up there. But the important thing about this side here is this is where we can control our catalogs. If we drop and bring our catalog down, we can see here we've got all photographs. And in this catalog, I've only got 124 photographs, which isn't that many. I've got a quick collection with 1 image in, and then I've got previous imports. So if I click on this previous imports, these were the last 5 images that we brought into Photoshop. So whatever you brought in previous, you are able to find very quickly through here. We click on the folders underneath and you can fold these down as needed. We click on the folder here, it drops down, and this is our Lacy drive, and these are all our images that make up our catalogue. And they're actually named by years, which is really useful. And it'll tell me in 2006 I have 5 images, 2009 4, 2010 5, 2011 63, and 2012 47. But if I click on that again, it then breaks it down into dates that they were taken. Now I didn't put these in the catalogue in these separate folders. Lightroom automatically sorts it out and gives you this collection as folders, but they don't appear as that. I could put all these images in one folder only, not separate them, throw them all into one folder, and Lightroom will automatically sort them out by date and basically create you these folders, which is fantastic because I can just click on that folder and that tells me that image is in it. Down here, they're the 4 images in there. If I click on a year, it lists all those images for the year. So I can go through and I can have a lot more control and I can see certain images shot at certain times. So again, it's automatically categorizing and databasing my images for me without me really having to do much more. So this is fantastic, and that's what these folders are. So you can create these folders. We then have collections, and this is where you can create your own collection of work. It may be for a particular client that you create the work for, or it may be some of these presets that we've already used down the bottom here. And for example, you can go to something as simple as recently modified. There's been 77 images that I've recently modified. I can find that. Video files, there's 1 video file, although it's correction, none, because it's saying there's none there. Words with keywords, without keywords, they're all the images without keywords. They're all the words with 1 keyword added. Star ratings, past month, they're all the images I've shot in the past month. So again, these collections, and we can create our own for different uses quite easily. Also what we have are public services. So we can actually get an image and we can set it up and upload images directly to Facebook. And Lightroom will sort that out for us. We don't need to go and set any pre-sizes. We just say we want this, and this image. Load it up to Facebook, load it up to Flickr for me, and you basically find that it will do it for you. And if you click here, you're able to go in and find a lot more services that you can add down here and set it up. So that's fantastic what you can do just on this left-hand side. You have so much control with what you can do with Lightroom in controlling your imagery. So that's on the left-hand side. So the left-hand side is really our cataloging side. It's going to tell us, you know, the different catalogs we create, different folders where we can find images, and help us control the amount of images that we have. It'll also help us create things like quick uploads to Facebook, Flickr, all those sites we use all the time. Also on this side we've got our import and export button. We've already used the import for bringing images in. Export is very similar. We can export them out for particular uses, and we can set presets in there so that they are actually created at a certain size for a particular use. And we'll talk about that in an export module later on. Rightio, so moving across now to this other side, the right hand panel. Right, and this is quite an interesting one, because what we have is, the first thing we have is our histogram up the side here. Now, when we click on an image, that histogram is going to change and tell us what it is for each of those images that we're dealing with. Right, if it's quite a dark image, it's going to tell us it's quite a dark image. And we're able to go through and click and go, oh yes, dark, and it's going to show us things in other modules where we're using the histograms like clipping and where we're losing information. Now, because when you click on these layers, you can have hundreds of these things open and images everywhere, and it's out of control. But one of the tricks here is when you're working in this module or any of these things is right click and come down and choose this solo mode. Because when that's not chosen, you can have stuff open all over the place and it just gets, you know, quite out of control. You're scrolling a lot. Solo mode means only one of these panels are open at any one time. So, up the top, histogram, which is good. It tells us about the image. This next one here is a quick module, or a quick develop module. And basically what it does, it lets you go through and make adjustments to images just very quickly. So for example, these images here, I have these three, are all quite dark. And all I simply do is I can come across to exposure and I can start changing it. And it changes all three for me, and bang, it's done. Move on, I've already lightened them up. Don't need to do much more. Do I use this very often? No, not really. I tend to do any modifications I make to images. I tend to do that in the develop mode. However, it's designed to do some quick adjustments. Another area that we have on this side is our keywording. This is where we can create keywords, and after a while, once you add the keywords you're after in here, you can also then come through and it will give you a list of suggested keywords, ones that you've been using a lot, or you can just basically create a set of keywords for a custom use. So that's an option you have. The keywords itself, rightio, this is an area where we can go through and we can find a certain amount of images, and it really relates to when we come through and click here. It'll work with this library filter at the top here, where we can start to sort out our images. So what happens is, for example, say I click on waterfall, it'll bring up all those waterfall images for us. But notice what happens across the top here. We now have this filter area drop down, and we'll start to have our list of keywords that we can click on and use. But in this area, it also provides us other information. Things like shot with a particular camera, types of lenses that have been used, images with labels or without labels. But again, you can go through here and you can find particular images or none, and basically find things via this mode. Metadata, once again, this is where if we have a particular image, we click on it, we're going to find out all that information about it. What type of camera it was shot with, the type of lens it was used, the focal length, etc. So we're able to find out a heap of information and add more information to this area. We've also got comments down the bottom, and basically this is where sometimes you will be allowed this function to go and comment on images and write a little write-up about them. So that's the library module, quite interesting, very easy to use. We'll talk a little bit more about this option line down the bottom here, and we'll talk a bit more about keywording to help you understand how to use this, plus the export module. Be aware there's a number of shortcuts that you can use within Lightroom that you want to get used to using. Remember, the tab key hides those side panels, especially if you're after a lot of real estate that you want to do. Shift tab gets rid of everything, so you can just work on single images if that's all you want to look at and view it that way. Basically, hitting Shift tab again will bring everything back. If you hit F, that's going to give you this full screen mode. That's where you get rid of all that information up the top, and you can basically just have it looking like Lightroom runs the whole show. L is quite a good option to use as well. That's where we can dim the lights and we can actually make it dark and you can just see the image itself. So that's a really good one. T will actually get rid of your toolbar, that little bar down the bottom here. If you don't want that there, T will get rid of that for you. G is what you get to grid mode, whilst L will give you that loop, lights with lights. E will give you the loop view mode if you just want to see the images independently. The lights back on. So G and E are the two that you want to flip between. Once you start getting used to using these type of things, it's good. If you use the numbers 1 to 5, that's actually what will give you your star rating, and you can just simply choose that by clicking on the keys. To reset everything for a particular image is just press 0, and it just resets the rating back to 0 for you. If you want to use the color panel, basically it's numbers 6 to 9 to add different colors to images, and we sometimes use colors similar to the way we can use star ratings, or if we've done particular work, we might have red for stuff that we're just working on now, and blue for finished. They're all options you have available for you as well. Be aware, if you use the shift key with these functions, what happens is, hold the shift key and maybe give this a 3, it'll then move on to the next one for you automatically, and then you can go through and apply another one, and it'll move on. So one of the bonuses you have is, if you want to keep moving through the images instead of clicking individually, just hold the shift key down and use 1 to 5, same as if you want to add a color. 6 to 9, shift key will let you do that as well. Be aware, J key, it's going to let you cycle through your view looping images. So you can just flick through them up here. It'll let you cycle through it and see it with the stars, ratings without it. That's what J will do for you. X is where if we want to have a particular image, and sometimes we flag images, right here. Basically by pressing X, it puts a little flag on it, and it basically means like that's a bad image, we don't want that. It's really up to you. If you press the letter P, it puts it as a good one. So that's what options you have. X is like a reject flag, and the P is like a good flag. So if you've got bad images, you can just go put flag them with the X, and then you can make them disappear out of this whole collection if you like. So they're just some quick, simple things. I've given you a shortcut list of these sort of shortcuts you can use, so it's up to you. But get used to using them. It'll make your life a lot quicker and make using the library a lot easier.